feedback you got for the multi-touch?
Yeah, the multi-touch was great. Well, we had it in there because we thought it would be a collaborative tool. So we had from Brown University this huge manuscript that's on there, and it was showing how if you have a manuscript that, say, this one was, what was it, 400 feet long, we covered two sides of the Jumbo Jet, and you can't research that in its physical form. You couldn't. It's on two huge rollers, and it's called the Garibaldi Panorama. Panoramas were the precursor to cinema, so they're on these rollers, and you can get on a stage, and two hulking men would hold the rollers, and some joker would tell the story in front of it. So changing the format and putting it on the surface table so you can scroll through it and see it and get up close is wonderful, and we think that people are going to want that, but they felt limited by the content. So they said, oh, I can think of a million things I'd like to see on it, and we just had one thing. So as a viewing tool, it's very helpful to researchers. And also had the program that Brown had built with Microsoft Research let you take notes, and it lets you, it's connected to archival material and catalogs. So if you look at a scene, there's a hotspot, and you click on the hotspot, and you get, the actual newspaper from the day to this guy. The guy who was an English guy, who was drawing this picture, he was referencing newspaper tales of Garibaldi in Italy, and so they pulled the newspapers together and the scenes, and he was copying it pretty much from the newspapers. So yes, we thought as a teaching tool it would be very interesting, and people responded to that, but they wanted to see more content and to have a choice. So they came into the reading room and they wanted to say, hey, I'd like to see this manuscript. So it would have to be connected to our resource discovery systems. But not as a collaborative tool. So we thought that was our big collaborative tool. We thought everyone would work around the surface table because it's multi-touch, so you could all touch it at the same time and look at different things. And it didn't. One person would do it, and then if someone else came in, they'd go like that, and nobody worked on it at the same time, and it wasn't a collaboration.
Maybe what it will be interested there is to actually test the surface or the technology with a very specific group.
Yeah.
Of researchers or a discipline, and some just providing some access to some data.
Definitely.
Seeing the behavior of the users.
Definitely. We had spoken to, so at the V&A there was an architecture collection of the Royal Architects Board or whatever. And they have their collection of the V&A, but their library is by Hyde Park. And so they came in and they wanted to get it networked so that the library could serve up the content on the fly to people who were in the library, so they wouldn't have to go to V&A to look at this digitized content remotely. So we could test that too.
Just a question to Christine, really, point about that. I have to say I was just amazed actually by some of that stuff on both the monastery and the Messiah, because obviously there's a lot of research about the difficulty of adoption of technologies by different groups of people, different cultures, and yet you seem to have, in those examples, it looks as if people that you think would be incredibly unlikely have just appropriated the technology, and it just seems to work. So how did that happen?
I mean, well, that's why I say I think there's a sort of a social anthropology PhD in here somewhere, because I don't honestly know the answer, but I just know sort of what I've observed is a lot of, well, I think it's a lot of sort of technology skipping, jumping that you've seen, it's pretty well documented now that, people, at first we used to have this sort of thinking that people had to go this linear progression through technologies. And the introduction, in particular, of mobiles and then of smartphones on that has shown us that actually sometimes it makes a lot of sense. Why would you bother putting in landlines now in remote areas when you can put in a satellite or you can put in mobile towers much more easily? And I think some of it does have to do with, as I presented, sort of the technologies are now finally, small enough and portable enough, in some ways flexible enough in both of those cases to fit the practice of the people. So in the monasteries, people carry the books around with them a lot, the texts around with them a lot. So they like the portable format. You know, they didn't necessarily take to sitting at a desktop, because generally it seemed weird to have a desktop computer in a temple, but it doesn't seem as weird to be sitting with a row of monks and if you have like a iPad in front of you, to be reading from that. So I think we're just now getting to a point where that, and the same thing with the Maasai in some ways, that, if they had to lug video equipment around with them or lug a physical library around with them, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But to skip to something that's sort of small and that fits the practices that they already have, without asking them to change what they do, seems to be, that's the important factor in the technology, whether or not it requires a change in what people are doing, rather than whether it's high technology or low technology. The same way the Filofax was very straightforward for a lot of people. It made sense in that context.
Okay, thank you very much.